The Lizzie Borden case remains one of the most infamous and lasting mysteries in American criminal history. It centers on the brutal axe murders of her father, Andrew Borden, and stepmother, Abby Borden. On August 4, 1892, in Fall River, Massachusetts, the case gripped the nation. Lizzie Andrew Borden, a 32-year-old Sunday school teacher from a known frugal family, was arrested and tried for the killings. Her acquittal in a sensational trial did not sway public opinion, which largely held her responsible. This cemented her place in American folklore, captured by the chilling children's rhyme. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. The rhyme is inaccurate about the number of blows, but it conveys the gruesome crime and the persistent suspicion around Lizzie. This report will examine the crime, the investigation, the trial, the evidence presented, the societal setting, and the reasons for the case's lasting notoriety. The murders. On a hot August morning, Andrew Borden, a wealthy but notoriously thrifty property developer and bank president, and his second wife, Abby Durfee Gray Borden, were found savagely murdered in their home at 92 2nd Street. Abby was found first, face down in an upstairs guest room. She had suffered roughly 18 to 19 blows from a hatchet-like weapon, mostly to the back of her head. Andrew was discovered later, slumped on a downstairs sitting room sofa. He had endured 10 to 11 severe blows that left his face unrecognizable. The extreme violence stunned the community. Present in the house at the time, apart from the victims, were Lizzie Borden and the family's maid, Bridget Sullivan. Lizzie's older sister, Emma, was away, and an uncle by marriage, John Morse, had been visiting but left the house before the killings occurred. The investigation and suspicions. The initial investigation suffered from delays, possible crime scene contamination, and the local police's limited experience with such a violent event. Suspicion rapidly fell upon Lizzie Borden. Her explanations of her location during the estimated times of the murders were inconsistent and, for some investigators, unpersuasive. She stated she was in the barn loft searching for fishing sinkers when her father was killed. Her calm appearance shortly after finding her father's body was noted by some observers. Others reported signs of distress. Several points fueled suspicion. Motive. Possible motives included anger toward her thrifty father, dislike of her stepmother, Lizzie, and Emma often called her Mrs. Borden, not mother, and the chance of inheriting Andrew's large fortune. Burning the dress. Days after the killings, Lizzie burned a blue dress in the kitchen stove, saying it was stained with paint. Her friend Alice Russell saw this act and later testified about it, raising questions that Lizzie was destroying key evidence. The hatchet. Police located several axes and hatchets in the Borden basement. One hatchet head looked freshly cleaned and lacked its handle. Prosecution asserted this was the murder weapon, intentionally broken and wiped down. The trial. Lizzie Borden's trial was a media event, pulling reporters from across the country. It set the circumstantial information gathered by the prosecution against a capable defense team, headed by former Massachusetts Governor George D. Robinson. Prosecution's case, led by District Attorney Hosea Knowlton. The prosecution laid out the circumstantial points, the potential motives, Lizzie's conflicting statements, the claimed poison purchase attempt, the dress burning, and the handleless hatchet head. They depicted Lizzie as a cold, calculating woman capable of great violence beneath a respectable surface. Defense's case. Robinson skillfully took apart the prosecution's case element by element. He stressed the absence of direct physical proof linking Lizzie to the crime. No bloody fingerprints, no eyewitnesses to the act, and critically no meaningful blood found on Lizzie or her clothing right after the killings. He successfully argued to exclude the testimony about the prussic acid purchase attempt, calling it irrelevant to the axe murders. He offered reasonable alternative explanations for Lizzie's actions, like the dress being genuinely stained or her manner resulting from shock or medication. He relied heavily on societal norms and biases, stating that a woman of Lizzie's piety, social position, refined upbringing was simply unable to commit such terrible acts. This resonated strongly with the all-male jury in that era. He pointed out weaknesses in the police investigation and created doubt about the hatchet head being the definite murder weapon. The verdict and aftermath. After deliberating for only around 90 minutes, the jury came back with a verdict of not guilty on all charges. The courtroom reacted strongly, and Lizzie reportedly fainted from relief. Following the legal acquittal, Lizzie Borden remained guilty in public perception. She and her sister Emma received their father's wealth and relocated to a large, to-date house called Maplecroft in a richer section of Fall River. Lizzie was mostly shunned by the community. She spent the remainder of her life in Fall River, dying of pneumonia in 1927, mere days before her sister Emma. She was buried in the family plot, near her parents and stepmother. Societal context. The Lizzie Borden case cannot be fully grasped without placing it in the societal setting of late 19th century America. Gender roles, prevailing ideas dictated that women, particularly those of the upper middle class, were naturally gentle, religious, and domestic. The notion of such a woman carrying out brutal, violent actions was almost beyond belief for many people, including the jury. The defense expertly used these beliefs. Class. The Bordens possessed wealth but lived modestly, creating internal family friction. Lizzie's status as a lady stood in sharp opposition to the crime's brutality, generating a mental clash that likely affected perceptions in the trial's outcome. Media. The growth of yellow journalism fed intense media attention. Newspapers frequently sensationalized details, at times mixing fact and fiction, influencing public views before and during the trial. Enduring legacy. Why does the Lizzie Borden case continue to hold interest more than 130 years on? The brutality. The extreme violence of the axe murders is naturally shocking. The unsolved nature. With Lizzie's acquittal, no one else faced serious charges. The absence of a clear answer permits perpetual speculation. The suspect. A respectable, church-attending spinster accused of killing her father and stepmother forms a compelling, rule-breaking story. The rhyme. The simple, gruesome rhyme guaranteed the story entered folklore, recognized even by people unfamiliar with the case specifics. Ambiguity of evidence. The case is a classic instance of circumstantial information failing to satisfy the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt, yet strongly pointing to guilt for many onlookers. Cultural impact. The case has sparked countless books, plays, films, documentaries, operas, and ballets, repeatedly re-examining the proof and motivations. Closing thoughts. The Lizzie Borden saga is more than a true crime narrative. It is a complex picture formed from threads of family discord, societal beliefs, claimed forensic shortcomings, sensational press coverage, and deep legal uncertainty. Acquitted by law, Lizzie Borden remains perpetually suspended in the public mind as the main suspect in the horrific killings of her father and stepmother. The absence of definitive proof, joined with the crime's shocking character and the accused personality, guarantees that the question, "Did Lizzie do it?" will probably echo through American folklore for years ahead, forever tied to the chilling cadence of an axe and an unforgettable rhyme.